Hello, and thank you for joining us for another segment of Supreme Feminine Essence, The Gifts You Were Born With. I'm Mia Saenz, your host, and with me this segment is Susan Jacobi. Welcome, Susan.
Hi, how are you doing?
Fabulous. I'm really grateful that you're here. You're also a self-love teacher person. It's amazing. You've got a book out that's great, and you do Conversations at Heal, which is fantastic. So share with us your story, and then we're going to get into a question and answers about your work and your book and self-love and all the good things that bring up our beautiful feminine essence as women.
Oh, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Well, my self-love comes from being a survivor of child abuse, and it's a topic that a lot of people don't like to hear, don't like to talk about, so it's kind of like a taboo topic. However, it's getting more and more attention, which is fantastic. And my story, my first memory of my abuse was at 4, the last is 18. And my father and my maternal mother were my main abusers. And my abuse was very intense. It happened almost every day. And it was almost like a satanic ritual, sexual cult. But I really want to focus on how I survived it. I mean, I could talk about tons of stories, and I don't really think they serve a purpose. My mom's parents, my maternal grandparents, they literally saved my soul. I would spend a lot of time with them, and they were the ones who taught me what love looked like, what safety felt like. And now that I can look back at it, I really think that they were the ones who held me together.
That's beautiful. I came from a similar background, and my grandmother was my rock, and I'm glad that it was your grandparents too. It's beautiful. So how did you develop your spiritual relationship with God?
Well, two things come to mind. The first one is when I was 6, and this might upset some people, so I'll give you a warning. When I was 6, my dad came in my room and attacked me, basically was raping me. And I remember lying on my bed and with my head on the pillow. And as I looked over to my right, I saw Jesus lying right next to me. And he stayed with me. He told me to keep my eyes on him. He told me that he would keep me safe. And as I look back at that now, I think, like, I wasn't afraid of him at all. I knew I was safe with him. And I really believe that he has stayed with me throughout this entire journey that has gotten me to where I am. The second one is in 2000, I really began my healing journey in 1998. And you're seeing the new improved Susan. You aren't seeing the 1998 version, and it wasn't pretty. And in 2000, I prayed to God that if he would help me, give me the energy to go through my healing, that I would be his voice for the effects of child abuse on the adult survivor. And so since then, I've grown stronger with him and have really almost dared to say we've become a team, where I've opened my soul and spirit up, and he's helped me along this entire process.
That's beautiful. It's really important to, especially when have been abused, I mean, always to connect your core, your center, your soul to the divine, but it's really important when you've had childhood abuses to find that balance, because it's so amazing when you shift to serve as opposed to thinking that you're still wounded. You know, we step
Absolutely.
from victimhood into thriver mode, and that's really where it's all about. Every single person can shift their conscious level from the abuse to being magnificently strong people that all they do is reach their hand out for people to say, grab it. Come on, we can do this together. I can help you. I've been through it. And that's what I love about this kind of work that you and I do is we're graceful, beautiful women and men, and we're perfect and whole, and when we see that divinity within ourselves, our connection to the divine, to God, then there's no stopping us. It's really amazing. You've had so many lessons along your journey. Will you share some?
Sure. You know, I do want to address what you just said. I
Yes.
totally agree with you. And for years, maybe for 10 or 12 years, I had times where I was really angry with God and didn't even cut him off, if you will. But now I know that he was with me that entire time. So I don't want people to think that, it's all a process. It's a journey. And to be compassionate with yourself and not so hard on yourself and not think, well, they're only doing it because X, Y, and Z, and that's just not true. And that kind of gets into your question. For me, trust has been a huge lesson, a very hard lesson to learn. And I spent years on it with my therapist. And what I really learned is that it really comes down to is self-trust, and that also teaches you self-compassion, and ultimately it goes into self-love. That's one lesson that I learned. Another lesson that I learned is that a lot of people, including myself, although I miraculously was never had any problems with drugs or alcohol, but addictions and even suicidal thoughts or sometimes actions. The thing about that is I get why people are like that, but the truth is they're just adding to more of a burden on their soul, because even when they're done, that the soul is still going to be in pain, and it still needs to be healed. And then the last thing that I learned is that you have already survived the abuse. People think these feelings are going to kill me, but the truth is that they're not. What will kill you are your actions, and your feelings and your thoughts are what will save you. So I would say
that's
those
wonderful.
feelings I've learned.
I think that you're absolutely right, because it's our mind that plays the tricks on us, that keeps us in the place of moving forward. And it's interesting that you said, because there's going to be viewers going, wow, and these are for ones who have had abuse, physical or molestation or rape. They're going to say, wow, Jesus wasn't with me. When I was raped, when I was 17, when I was 14, I literally saw what I thought was my father, who had passed earlier in the year, above my head. And I just knew, all these things go through your head, your mind. My mother's evil ways of saying, now nobody will want you. Once they taste the milk, they don't want to buy the cow. That phrase. And
Right.
I think what I saw as you were saying that was, because my father has been with me ever since. People see him all the time around me. And I tried to release him a year or so ago, and I still think he comes and goes. But what I'm trying to say is, I guess I saw his spiritual soulfulness that was there, that I identified as my... I liked how you said that, since you've been through it, you know how to teach it, you know how to share it. And thank you for doing that, because there's not enough, I have found in the spiritual self-love community that I'm in as a teacher, that there's not enough of us who actually have seen the darkness the way you and I have. And almost as if they're horrified that I asked, do you get, I call them my yummy people, because I said, do you get the people with body dysmorphia or rape or trauma, this and that, and they're like mortified. No, it's like, well, good. Then there's more for those of us who have, So connect to somebody that totally spiritually understands you. So, okay, now
Right.
there are several things I want to ask you still. You have a free gift for people. Do you want to talk about that?
Please.
Right.
I have a book. It's called 21 Tools for Happiness. And
Awesome.
I created it because when you're in pain and it's like you can't think clearly. And this gives you, like, go fly a kite or take a walk. Everyone's like, oh, take a walk. Sometimes when I was on my healing journey, which I actually still am, I'm not sure that you ever get over it. I would want to, like, cuss them out, like, I'm not taking a walk, don't tell me to take a walk. So even though that's, like, one of the best things that you can do to fight your depression
Right.
or whatever,
Right.
but that's beside the point. Like, just things that will break that tension, like go to a movie, something that will distract your mindset. And so that's why I created that, and I don't want to give it to people.
That's wonderful. That's really beautiful. Thank you so much. That really is beautiful. I just love that you have spent the time in the practical sense, of preparing stuff for people, because I know that I keep saying I'm working on my book, it's also a workbook. Well, where the heck is it? There's just so much in life. So I've realized this year that I have to just settle into that, and just dedicate my time besides what I'm doing to that, because what you've done is you've given tools for people. I mean, we all have tools, but you've given structural tools where people can actually go, wow, here's a book. Thank you, Susan. So thank you. That's beautiful. And you and I understand it. You and I understand, and some other people understand, the depth of the gratitude that goes along with this work, because it really is deep, beautiful work. And if you can get past, as Susan said, the demons in your mind, in your talking sense, or wherever you think they are, if you can get past that and you can start to see the glory and the light, and if you haven't experienced that yet, it'll come. And ask for it. Just say in your prayers, we don't beg in prayers, we ask, because we're on a different communication level. There are many religions that it's almost like begging, and you don't beg to God, you speak. If we are His children, then why are we begging? So the point is ask, say, Father, show me the way, or how do I find this? Never put it in the victimhood of why. So anyways, I'm moved by you so much, Susan. And I knew I would be.
Well, there's
so.
a couple things. If I have time, there's a couple things that I wanted to address. The first thing is I really want people to get that while you see me like this, I promise you that it took me a long time to get where I was am now. And it's been, I just don't want people to beat themselves up because they're not like where I am or where you are, because you don't know my journey. You don't know what it's taken me to get here. And I just think that's really important. And the other thing that keeps coming in mind as we're talking is, yes, my abuse was severe as like what you shared about yours, and as I look at it now, I can see that if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be as passionate as I am now. But I do kind of like kid around with God and be like, really? Did I really need it that many times to get the message?
Aww.
And but also, all it takes is one act to alter your life forever. And even though we're talking about severe situations, that doesn't mean that somebody who's just had one incident is like excluded.
They're just
Or
as valuable.
doesn't have this, right, or doesn't have the same struggles, because that one act will alter everything in your life. And I just want people to understand that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
That's a really, really, really good point. Just because you and I have experienced a lot doesn't mean that, wow, look at them. No, you're so right. And you and I, ours went on for a long time, and that's different than one simple act. But the thing is I look at it as one act. I look at that as one, whether it went on for 20 years or 18 or 15 or whatever it still was an act that repeated itself. So one is not greater than another. Evil is evil. I know that sounds terrible, but it's
Exactly.
true. Evil is evil, and it doesn't belong in anyone's experience. So shift to a different space. If it doesn't serve you, shift to make it serve you. Shift your consciousness, your everything. And because you shifted, tell us how you found your passion and purpose.
Well, I'm going to tell you a quick story.
Okay.
This whole thing started in 2009, and I was at a conference. It was actually in Canada. And it was like a 3-day thing or something. And throughout this conference, I would get up randomly and ask questions, or it was mostly asking questions, only thinking that I was satisfying myself and my questions. But when it was over, this woman came up to me who I had never seen in the conference. I didn't know anything about her. And she said to me that because of the courage I had to share in front of people I didn't even know, she went home and told her husband, whom she had been married to for 9 years, that she had been abused as a child. And that changed everything in their relationship.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow. And there's other examples. Like, I have a meetup group in my local area, and because I'm talking about it, another woman has now become, who kept her secret because of the shame. I mean, we haven't even talked about shame, the S word, I call it. On it, and she was telling me that she was sharing it with a fellow, a guy that was over at their house, and he said that he had the same situation. So it really opens up paths to healing. And I really want people to understand, if they don't understand anything else that I've said, that your feelings, your actions, your thoughts are so normal for this event that's happened in your life. The event is what is abnormal. And that is just, I just keep myself that over and over again. Because we get the idea that it's switched, that you're abnormal for this event. And that's just not true.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Well, guess what? If you can believe this, we're out of time. It went by so fast. So leave us, Susan, with one last message for us that moves your heart.
That you are loved, and that you may not feel like you're loved. You may not know what that even feels like, but you are loved. And it will take time to learn that, to feel it. And the truth is that some people may never know what that feels like, but that doesn't change the fact that they are loved.
And also you brought it before, which was kind of brilliant, even though I didn't like the way the therapist said it to you, but we're not alone. We're never alone. We have all experienced something like you also talked about, whether it's small or big. I love that. Thank you, Susan, so much for joining us on Supreme Feminine Essence. It's really been a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we'll see you all in the next segment. Goodbye.